Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Game School. Remember, there's no school like the old school, and I'm the headmaster. Yesterday we were talking about Atari and you know how that affected my gaming life, shall we say, in quite a dramatic way when I first got my Atari. I know at the end of yesterday I said I was going to start talking about PlayStation, but obviously as in a blur I totally forgot the Sega years, and actually the Sega years were my next realistic aspirations of really wanting to sort of, you know, get into gaming in a much bigger way. So we're going to talk about Sega instead. We'll get on to PlayStation, don't worry. But after the Atari, you know, after I finished with the Atari, well, not finished, you never really finish with it, but after my, you know, the gaming sort of died down a little bit, shall we say. There was a gap. Like I said yesterday, I got into a little bit of rugby, started playing sports, doing other things, probably slightly more healthier for you, but hey. And yeah, I left the gaming world really for quite a while. I then somehow, it was literally just by accident, obviously, you know, I moved away and things like this from my childhood, where I was growing up, and you know, got into doing jobs and things like this, as you do. You need to pay your way through the world, and again, it was a friend who introduced me to the Sega Megadrive. Oh, actually, sorry, not the Sega Megadrive, the Master System. And obviously I'm just got memories of Atari in my head, thinking this is amazing, this is really cool. So got hold of a Master System, and it was pretty similar in terms of, you know, the way you had these cassettes. You would put a cassette in, you know, switch it on, and away you go. But the games were much better, the sound was much better. At the time, you know, I was thinking, oh, this is just realistic. I know Nintendo had come along, you know, with its own sort of games, and I sort of put my allegiance to Sega, and it was, you know, I probably backed the wrong horse at the time, I think, because Nintendo probably did have all the best games, you know. I did dabble a little bit and think, oh, shall I go over to Nintendo, because, you know, all these games are pretty cool. But what stuck was Sonic for me. As soon as I played Sonic, that was it. You know, it was fast. You know, he had a bit of attitude as well compared to this plumber, you know, which I you know, was never really, it wasn't a character that I really you know, focused on. But I really did like Sonic. You know, the speed of it, how cool it looked as well. The sort of, you know, it was like, you know, Mega Drive systems and things like this had the Mega game for me. So yeah, so that was it. So as soon as I started playing Sonic, this is fantastic. It's hours disappeared, absolute hours disappeared. And obviously lots of other games come on board. So I got the Master System, and then, like I said, the Mega Drive came out, and I was hooked. I was hooked on Sega. That was it, apart from the Dreamcast, which actually was a good machine, but you know, by then gaming had moved on. I think the Dreamcast was probably a little bit ahead of its time. Anyway, I digress. A little bit ahead of its time, but let's stick with the Mega Drive, or as the Genesis, I think it's called in other parts of the world. In the UK, it was the Mega Drive. 16-bit, amazing. 16-bit. Imagine that these days. But the games were just, again, they were faster, they were slicker. The sound again was much more what it should be. You hear things blowing up, and it didn't just sound like an electronic sound. It actually sounded like what it should have been. And to be honest with you, at the time as well, I had a lot of friends that were gamer friends that played these games. So it seemed, let's just say, when you're at that age, you've got lots of friends doing the same thing. You do that as well. So this is another probably a reason why I didn't get into Nintendo at the time. But anyway, so all the games I started playing them then just took things to a different level. To a point, my partner at the time, my girlfriend at the time, I never thought that she would be into games, and I would come home and she'd be playing games. On the Megadrive, there was one called Fire and Ice, which she absolutely loved. There was another one called Flashback, which again, these were all just platform games. A lot of them, in that era were either platform games or rolling shooters, these sorts of things. But, I never thought that she would get into it. So again, it was a bit of a moment where I just thought, wow, if she's getting into playing games and loving these games, this really is the future. The future is here. She was sort of very, very non-gaming, non-geeky sort of individual. She was slightly geeky, but not in the way we consider geeks. So again, like I say, that for me was like, wow, there's more than just the stereotypical gamer playing these games. Adults were playing them. I'd go around my friend's house, and his dad of 50 years old was putting on Sonic. So that was incredible. That was amazing to me. I absolutely that I loved that. I absolutely loved that side of it. And it was very portable as well. If I had friends that didn't have it, I could take it around there. The controllers were so easy. They were robust. I don't think I ever broke. I mean, they went through some abuse, but I don't think I ever broke a controller, or never worn down, or I obviously had the gamer's thumb and all of these things, but I never destroyed a controller of the Sega systems. PlayStation, I don't know how many I've gone through. And they are tough, but there is a sort of simplistic nature, I suppose, to the Sega Megadrive ones that just worked. They got it right. Again, but moving on from that, yes, I got the Megadrive. It was pretty cool. It was a really good system, and I just loved the sheer fact that whole time in my life got me back. It made me feel like the Atari moment. I'd call it. It made me feel like, oh wow. And I think that's the key with a lot of these things through my time of gaming, is what's the next wow. Sometimes you can get, oh, this is okay, you can get too analytical, you can get too cerebral about these things, but realistically it's just a wow factor. People play games, or people like them, or get a console because they've been blown away by it. It might be that you've seen it as a kid and you point at it as your parents, goes, I want that, get me that. Or it might be that you've played it on your friends, or the marketing has just been unbelievable. They've done an amazing job in the marketing, and they've really sold how amazing this is. But it is that wow factor. It's what I need this. This is what I want, and that's what you like as kids. Very hard to please, but easy to sort of get round, should we say. So yeah, so the Mega Drive for me was that moment when I had that, but I had a lot of friends, so it was quite a social. It was a social sort of gaming part with me. as well, and that's really what took it to another level, I think, in the gaming side of things from my perspective. Again, so I loved it. So that was the Sega years, and that actually went on for quite a while. That actually went on, other systems came and went, but the Mega Drive for me was quite a good long period of my life in terms of gaming wise. And like I say, there was loads of pretenders to the throne. Nintendo were bringing out some incredible games and also systems. And at one point I did think about going over to the dark side, but like I said, it was one of these things, you did set your allegiance. If you were Nintendo, you were a Nintendo gamer. If you were Sega, you were Sega. And that was that. And a little bit like today, really. If you're PlayStation, you're PlayStation. If you're Xbox, you're Xbox. And these rivalries, I think this is what drives the industry, and they will keep going as long as they keep going. As long as you've got two big, or at least two big companies fighting for supremacy, shall we say, it'll keep pushing themselves. But they, Nintendo for me, it just didn't. Again, it didn't. I just stuck my flag in Sega's Sega's garden, and I stuck with them thick and thin. Probably shouldn't have done, but hey, I enjoyed every minute of it, to be perfectly honest with you. When I say shouldn't have done, I just mean there were other games I probably missed out on. So that was the Sega years. What I'm going to do again, like I said, I'll give you the run up to the when the PlayStation was launched. I was excited about a PlayStation. I was one of the guys that got it on its first day. I was one of the guys that queued. I was one of the guys that was excited about getting the PlayStation, because I knew this was the way forward, or I had a hindsight that this was going to be the way forward. So anyway, guys, tune in next time if you want to hear me rambling on again about games and consoles and my gaming story. But take have a good day, whatever you get up to. But just remember one thing: there's no school like the old school, and I'm the headmaster.